films rely on a variety of familiar monsters to both shock and titillate their audience. The vampire, the werewolf, and the zombie are some of the more recognizable creatures in our rogue gallery.
But they're not alone. There are other monsters that populate the night. Horrible creatures that frighten the young and the old alike.
Then there are clowns. For some reason, the clown is considered one of the scariest images in our culture. Studies at UC Berkeley have found that they're almost universally hated by children, and coulrophobia is the most common disorder of its type.
Why are we so afraid of clowns and yet made Dane Cook one of the wealthiest comedians in the country? Why are clowns so scary, but goth kids and corpse painters aren't? It's a question for the ages. Whatever the answer, people just hate clowns.
Maybe it's the uncanny valley. Maybe it's a trepidation towards people concealing their identities. Maybe some clever part of our collective unconscious has given us an inward dread that this movie exists, and thus we may someday be forced to watch it.
From Badman Productions, Secrets of the Clown.
The first question an independent filmmaker has to ask himself is, what will I do to open my film? What will establish this movie, and how will I cement the feel of it?
Secrets of the Clown answers this quandary with a resounding tits. Not even meaningful tits, just tits. They hover there like twin blimp plants and then get murdered. I hate it when my tits don't have any meaning. If my tits aren't delivering a dissertation on Nietzsche versus Schopenhauer and the effects of German philosophers on Western pop culture, then I'm not really interested.
I have good news then. The movie actually starts in the library with our heroine reading a book. I know what you're thinking, but no, there aren't any spontaneously ejecting card catalogs or ominously floating tomes here.
No, instead we're treated to strange flashing images and a look of... well, we can't really call that terror, can we? More blank incomprehension? Wait, seriously? Another damn movie with a psychic chick as the main character? What is it with the horror movies and the weird psychic ladies?
Whatever it is, it spooks her into tearing herself away from the giant leather-bound edition of whatever encyclopedia she's reading and heading into the actual movie.
She heads out to her car and nervously bumps headlong into a jump scare. Not to worry, it's just a friendly transient who wants to help her out, because she dropped her copy of the demonic doll. All he wants in return is some change.
Change! You got change!
She heads home to find a lot of police officers, but apparently the murders were not at her house. That's cool. We'll take that as carte blanche to forget they ever happened.
Wait, what if the story loops back around on itself and the crimes across the street become important to the plot?
Well, we're gonna have to put in a different movie because the dead porn actors next door contribute exactly fuck all to the overarching narrative.
Instead, let's worry about something even creepier. There aren't any dead bodies in her house, but there is a buff version of Scott Baio hiding under her bed.
Wow, that's a pretty awesome prank, but geez, what a class act. I'm trying my best to figure out whether he's supposed to be sympathetic or not.
Well, he does cute things like scaring her by jumping out of hiding like a teenager, but he also does things like this.
Well, let me make it up to you.
No, come on. I gotta take a shower.
And causes ridiculous exchanges like this.
Why do you care what the cops are doing next door anyway?
Well, gosh, Buff Baio, I don't know. Maybe out of concern for our neighbors' well-being? Maybe we're worried that there's a desperate killer in the neighborhood. I'd say that presents a legitimate concern.
I would guess he's not supposed to be, because gothy Betty Page here is already packed up and leaving him. No amount of phoned-in, half-hearted begging for delay will stop her, and she walks right out of his life.
Wow, she actually just walked out. I guess he's not as in charge as we thought he was. I also guess she wasn't as much of a main character as we thought, because we're left with Bobby and Buddy. I mean Jim. Shit.
We are made to understand that the leaving lady was obsessed with a porcelain clown doll and treated it with exhausting care.
You know, that kind of makes me wonder why she'd leave it behind. Damn it, movie, make my nagging questions go away. I demand that someone do something retarded and then immediately die.
Jim, hey bro, did you see what I did with the remote, bro?
Jeez, what an awful noise. I think that's the sound of the plot flatlining.
He passed out right next to Jim's body. Hopefully they don't think that he killed him, or he'll be Charles incarcerated.
Bobby wakes up later in the hospital. The bad news is that his friend is dead, but the good news is that his girl came back.
He's actually got a lot of good news. His girl coming back is lucky enough, but he should count his blessings that he woke up at all after a blow to the head like that. He could have been left Charles in a coma.
This is going to be a thing, isn't it?
I was praying it was a dream. And then I'd wake up and none of it would have really happened.
That's how I feel about this movie.
Thanks to the constant dream sequences, it's now been a month since Jim died. Things seem to be getting back to normal for Bobby.
It's about time you woke up. You know you've been sleeping almost an hour.
Hey, wake up.
What? Oh.
You've been sleeping for almost an hour.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you woke me then, because I dreamt we were all stuck watching Secrets of the Clown. Oh.
He's getting ready to go to the cemetery and hang out with a bunch of his friends, and he confides in her that he thinks he's being haunted by Jim. He seems concerned with this, but not overly so. More middling than anything, really.
You know what that means, don't you?
That he's Charles Impartial?
No, it means that in spite of Jim's death, we're still not rid of him.
Hey, remember what a weird, annoying douchebag Jim was? Well, good news. Now there are 3 of him spread liberally between these 2 guys.
They're friends of Bobby, who are planning on meeting him for the cemetery walk. I'm sure that we know their names, but that's boring, so we're going to call them Shaggy and Scooby Douche.
Scooby apparently hates Valerie for some reason. I honestly think this guy hates for the sheer sake of hating.
He talks a lot of shit about her until the door opens, and then he greets her warmly.
I hope Val doesn't come with us. I can't bear to spend 5 minutes with that bitch. Val! We were just talking about how long it's been.
That's not funny.
No, it isn't. Neither is the bland, urbane conversation that they struggled to carry on in Bobby's absence. Then, this happens?
Look, John, no wonder why the clown always has a smile on his face.
Louie, don't touch that!
I'm really sorry about that, Val. Louis suffers from borderline retardation.
I think this may be the only moment in the entirety of the movie that I actually agree with Scooby there.
However, I am left wondering what the hell binds these 2 morons together. I mean, I get why Scoobs is in the relationship.
Throughout the entire movie, Greenshirt does nothing but call Shags stupid. He goes well out of his way to do it, and not just in private. He insults his intelligence to a Rachel Black impersonator the first time they meet.
We got a little tied up. Dumbass had to stop for Burger King on the way.
I was hungry. I didn't eat lunch.
Ha ha ha! Get it? It's because he's fat.
Hi, nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. You're quite the legend around here.
It's true. Louis is well known for being an idiot.
See, this horror movie won't be entirely serious. They keep the jokes coming so fast you can almost forget that it's not a comedy.
When the whole gang finally arrives, they head towards Jim's grave to reminisce. On the way, Baio confides in Scooby that he feels he may be haunted.
I don't want to talk about it.
What is it, Bobby? You can tell me.
Come on, Buff Bayo, are you seriously gonna trust this cornhole? He's a complete knob goblin. I'm pretty sure this guy's stomach is full of vinegar, and he's wearing a wig to hide the plastic spigot on the top of his head.
We're saying that he's a douche. Dollars to donuts, this sprinkle genie betrays his trust at the first possible opportunity.
Ken and Bobby are talking about getting a psychic to try to contact Jim's spirit from the dead.
Surprise, surprise.
However, this works out. It seems that Baio actually has a lot of kind and thoughtful buddies, in addition to the genital warts he showed up with, and they want to help him in this sensitive time of grief.
In spite of this, Scooby-Dooch pushes hard with the assholery and gets punched for it. I want to know this guy's address so that I can send him a thank you card every year on the punch's anniversary.
Hey, you know what's great? Hanging out and reminiscing with your friends about the good times you've shared. You know what isn't so great? Listening to other people hang out and pretend to reminisce about the good times they've shared.
I do have to hand it to the actors, though. They rival the cast of Ghostbusters with their ability to simulate the warmth and familiarity shared only by longtime companions.
When they're finished, they go looking for Shithead, only to find him savagely murdered in his vehicle.
I hope the police find the killer soon, because I need to send him thank you cards as well.
We're treated to another dream sequence. Jeez, this movie has more unrealistic fantasies than a Tea Party rally.
When we come back to reality, Buff Baio says a few words at the Crouch Goblin's funeral. He breaks into tears and tells everyone what a great friend he was, and how much he loved him.
Really? When? When was he a good person, even for like 1 second?
Well, it stands to reason that he would be particularly affectionate towards that crotch.
Why do you say that?
Because Bobby loves crotchy!
What? That sucks. That needs to stop.
The date is set and the team is determined. They're going to hire a psychic and attempt to bust that ghost.
Valerie is not happy that he's getting a psychic. She's convinced that something bad will happen. Why? Because she's another one of those presumably psychic chicks, and she warns him that she dreamed he and all his friends would be murdered.
This isn't the first time I've envisioned your death.
Wow, Val, it's like we're the same person. I'm right there with you, sister.
Well, as women in movies always do, she caves to the will of her man and the party is on. They have the psychic over and he proceeds to have flashy premonitions all around the house.
Downstairs, his friends are hanging around playing games.
Good game, Louie.
It's just not the same without someone to call me a retard.
They get to talking and decide that if Jim is still around, then he'd be more apt to communicate if they offer him something personal.
And since we've only ever seen Jim in a state of total inebriation, they get him a shot of vodka. To their surprise, he drinks it.
Buff Baio talks with pointy-faced Psychic about the night that Jim was murdered. He talks him into showing him the clown doll that Valerie is so protective of, but it's gone.
Valerie has taken it and run. We don't know when, and we don't know why, but it apparently happened, so you should just fucking deal with it, okay?
You do realize you're watching a movie called Secrets of the Clown. Are you really going to split hairs about the decisions that characters are making at this point in the game?
His buddies set up the world's most ghetto Ouija board, and to everyone's surprise, it works. Looks like old Jim is still hanging around, and luckily still a lush.
Elsewhere, Valerie suffers some extremely plot-convenient car trouble and has to hitch a ride with a stranger. Stranger being a very operative word here. It looks like the guy does his makeup with bleached flour.
Wait, what's this? Further conversation reveals that it's not Jim at all. They ask whatever specter is present, whether it's a friend or not, and it responds with a resounding, face full of glass?
I do not understand your reaction, human. In my dimension, a face full of glass is the highest honor one can give in greeting. I suppose it loses something in the translation.
When the shot glass hits the lamp, shit hits the fan. Shaggy runs outside to smoke an emergency joint because a real friend runs out for a joint while a companion is seriously injured and suffering, and is predictably murdered by whatever the hell is out there.
Oh, who are we kidding here? It's the clown. The fucking movie is called Secrets of the Clown. We've read the cover. We know better than to expect clever plot twists. Valerie is having some trouble with the guy who picked her up. I keep thinking that somewhere I've heard some advice about getting into strangers' cars, or more precisely, not to. I wonder if this is why.
He's an agent of some hitherto undisclosed antagonist who instructed him to bring her back alive. The agent seems to have been stalking her for some time.
Well, he threatens her, but she's unfazed. Is she really just this calm under pressure? Is she perhaps some kind of martial artist who knows she doesn't have anything to fear from him?
No, she's a witch. Of course she is. Why is it always a fucking psychic or witch or whatever? What a surprise. A female character who isn't a total pushover and who doesn't cry when a man threatens her. And it's because she's fueled by Satan.
As is to be expected, she kills him with devil doom evil and leaves to find a slightly less shitty ride back to town.
Buff Baio and friends are pretty much ready to just say fuck it and take their chances, but Arian Orpheus urges them to sit tight. He claims to have a solution to their problem, but there's a price to pay.
Yeah, but at what cost?
Patience!
Well, that could be a problem. If there's anything I'm swiftly running out of with this movie, it's patience.
Hitchhiking Valerie has found another ride, and this one seems much more pleasant than the transient rapist she had before.
Well, maybe not much more. This one really genuinely wants to help her. Through the power of the Jeebus, of course.
Truly, she is the saintliest of housefraus.
Also the nosiest.
Well, I've heard that nosiness is next to godliness.
Frau Schnuppenstein tells her there's always a place for her in Jeebus land. To prove her sincerity, she gives Val her very own god card.
She gave her a god card. If she's willing to sacrifice 3 monsters, she can special summon the Blue Eyes White Savior.
So, Anton LaFay is lighting some candles and is totally getting his seance on. He plans to summon Jim into his body in order to communicate with him. The others are concerned that the ritual will create a sort of spiritual glory hole, and they have no way of knowing whose dick might be lurking on the other side. He reassures them that all will be safe, so long as no one nudges the easily broken mystical circle.
Frau Schnuppenstein stops for gas, giving Val the chance to flee the scene of the lecture. It's cool. She seems kind of relieved that that there book-reading demon girls vacated her holiest of vehicles. There's only room for one passenger in her car, her co-pilot, Chewbacca.
Bless your heart, child. I pray you find peace.
Did you just hex me, you bastard?
Jeez, look at that. Now that is a bodybuilder's fridge. Nothing but water and protein shakes.
Maybe that's the secret of the clown. Steroids.
Hurry, Bobby. There isn't much time.
Was the camera guy just hitting on him, or is the secret of the clown Jim's horrible, aching man crush on Buff Baio?
Probably neither, because Jim seems to have lured him upstairs for the express purpose of rifling through Valerie's unmentionables.
She hid my D&D folder in her panty drawer? That's a terrible place. What if I needed something to wear to the gym?
Bobby is apparently the opposite of boring spouse Ron, because upon finding one of her Christopher Penczak manifestos, he immediately assumes witchcraft is a real thing and that she used it to murder his friends.
Yes, Val, who hasn't been home during any of the killings, must be the murderer, and not just really into LARPing.
Buff Baio stumbles in and with all the emotion of a mildly bored toddler announces that Valerie is the killer. Then, clearly shocked by the audacity of a woman daring to have power, he faints dead away. Teeth and Cheekbones notice that Dr. Orpheus has been bitten by the Exposition gremlins, and so they gather round to hear the story of how this whole thing got started.
You see these symbols? They date back to the 16th century.
Or to my high school notebook.
As Buff Baio naps through the never-ending backstory, he dreams of meeting Ghost Jim in the local graveyard. Because if this dream had taken place in Florida, then that hoodie would make it legal for someone to gun him down.
Val's the killer. I don't know why I never realized the signs before, but she's the one.
Probably because there were no signs, Bobby.
Jim reveals that a Terry Brooks novel in her drawer doesn't indicate that she's a killer, because that doesn't make any sense.
In fact, Valerie's the reason he's trapped between worlds, which doesn't seem like it's a good thing, but apparently it's keeping him safe from the killjoy loose in the house, and he needs Bobby to set him free.
Cheekbones and Teeth grow tired of Charles' unconscious and decide to wake him up. Cheekbones delivers a line of dialogue so pure that I think he might have gone off script and started describing the film itself.
What'd I miss?
Jack shit.
Hey, how's Ken?
Who?
Well, I'll be darned. Ken decided that he was going to win the bad acting contest in this, come hell or high water. So he transforms into a deadite and offs the competition.
Goodbye, Kelly. We'll truly miss your very, very special acting skills.
Even though the audience couldn't be happier about this, Cheekbones is extremely incensed, and wouldn't you know it, it's time for the fight scene. Oh my god, they killed—
You killed Ken.
I'm a bastard.
If you're so psychic, why couldn't—
Couldn't see this coming either.
Come on, Mike, leave some of the jokes for us.
Meanwhile, Valerie returns home to find Killjoy hanging out on her lawn, just kind of clowning it up.
You've got to be kidding me.
Come on, Valerie, do you really think a movie called Secret of the Clown is kidding?
As she's trying to figure out how she'll cross his zany fun-time murder diameter, she's approached by a branch of the local neighborhood watch. Since we'll never know or care about their names, let's call them Rick and Leonard, towny hardasses.
They decide to try and help Valerie out, as she is female in a horror movie, so she must not be able to do something as simple as tying her shoes. The clown handily reduces them to Rick and Leonard, towny chalk outlines.
Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen.
Inside, the psychic's secret becomes slightly more glaringly obvious, as he reveals himself to be the totally not hidden for even the shortest amount of time villain of the piece.
He declares that he's found what he's looking for, and throws them against the wall with the power of special effects.
The plot tries its little heart out to twist as they reveal that Val was Anton LaFerrie's apprentice, but she wanted out. She was sent to find a man to love so she could sacrifice him for eternal life.
Love softens her up, however, and she decides she'd rather give up eternity for a mortal life with Buff Baio.
He summons the clown and puts them all to sleep so that he can have them tied up in the basement. He intends to steal their soul for some kind of ritual.
Either that, or he just wants some people to play the everlasting with him, and this is the opening ceremony.
As the evil one begins to have everyone cut, they're saved by Jim, who is still trapped inside the doll.
Wait a minute, isn't that a lot like what happened to Tristan? Are we allowed to make 2 Yu-Gi-Oh jokes in one review?
Good prevails over evil, but Bobby has been wounded so badly that he faints. Jeez, this guy spends more time passing out than Susan Sarandon.
But it's not over yet. Buff Baio wakes up in the hospital. Dr. Obviously the Psychic informs him that he's been in a coma for a year.
They tell him his family will be coming along when he wakes up and put him under. I guess that makes him Charles anesthetized.
Seriously, that needs to stop.
He opens his eyes to find that the movie has come full circle. 2 of them, to be precise.
With only a few minutes of runtime left, the director has found his tits shoehorn and used it to succinctly shoehorn in some goddamn tits.
This turns out to be another dream sequence. He wakes up to find that the movie has more false endings than Return of the King. They should call this Return of the Clown.
Screw this. Get to the ending already. Buff Baio wakes up in a chair to find that Arian Orpheus is dead and the whole shebang was actually real.
Val tells him that she figured out how to kill the master by looking into his eyes instead of Bobby's. Wait, what? I don't understand.
Oh god, just make it end. She tells him that it will be alright because she has chosen him over the power her master offered her.
Well now, the monster is banished, the warlock is dead, and our heroes can be together happily ever after.
Dun dun dun!
So that was the secrets of the clown. Wait, what was the secret of the clown?
I think it was that he was a beefy walking MacGuffin that doesn't accomplish anything through the entirety of the plot.
As it happens, this movie has 2 clowns, and neither one of them do or mean a goddamn thing to the narrative. They're just kind of there.
Can they even be called MacGuffins? A MacGuffin is usually something that motivates the plot along. The clowns in this just kind of are mentioned.
I actually love this movie. Most of the acting is vomit-inducingly awful, and the script is totally ridiculous. But it's one of the few movies that is so bad it loops back around in on itself and keeps me entertained all the way through. I love Buff Baio. I love Valerie. I even love the Aryan Chipmunk, known only as the Psychic. Every time I watch Secrets of the Clown, I have a blast.
It has forgettable characters, bad jokes, subpar acting, and a plot that twists less than a broomstick. But gosh darn it, it tries, and it never falls into boredom. Besides, without bad horror movies, how would we watch bad horror movies?
Give Badman Productions a shot and watch Secrets of the Clown.